This dark shadow gray Terminator Cobra sat for 5 years like this. You could see it was starting to sink into the ground. The reason it sat was because it developed the head tick. And so the owner parked the car. So then somebody was able to get it, and they paid $8,000 for the car. They said they spent 2 hours hand washing it, and he spent 5 hours waxing it because it was covered in mildew. So the car needed some cleaning up. But it did clean up nicely. Even underneath the car looked pretty good for having sat in the dirt for a long time. There wasn't really any rust, just a little small part on the radiator support in the front, he said, is all he might want to replace on it. But that wasn't too bad for a car for that price that had the head tick. So he's going to replace the cylinder heads and clean up the car some more. Of course, the hood's going to need repainting. He said it was peeling on the hood. But other than that, it was in pretty good shape. And so other people started commenting and saying that's about how mine was. Mine sat outside in a field for several years. This is a Sonic Blue that this guy was sharing. And another guy said, yeah, my buddy just built this black Cobra that was sitting with no drivetrain in it for 5 years in the Arizona sun. And I saw the build progress of that car. They named it Project Phoenix. This car got cleaned up really well, got a new drivetrain and everything, and it's running and driving now. And this other guy said, yeah, this is my car. It had been sitting for 5 years in a field, and that he had slowly been bringing it back to life, and he's had it for 6 months, and this is how it looks now.
Here's a dark shadow gray Terminator that's been left in the woods for 4 years. The car was crunched in the back quarter panel. The extensive damage made it so that the person parked it and left it the way it was. As you can see in the engine bay, it doesn't look too bad. It looks to be all stock. The supercharger bolts there are kind of rusting, so there's some corrosion going on in the engine bay there. I don't know if this is in a snow climate. I don't know if the car just looks like that anyway, but the strut tower shock bolts, those look all rusted up and stuff. And some people are saying it looks like there have been some mice in there, unfortunately. The interior is dirty, but it does look to be pretty low mileage. You can see the seats actually look in pretty good condition. The person who bought the car said that they put a deposit down on it. They're going to pick it up, but they really don't know how many miles are on the car or what they're going to do with it yet. They're thinking they're going to part it out because the accident damage in the back's pretty bad, or they might sell it as is if they can make a little profit off the car. But this shows you that there are cars like this out there that are becoming barn find cars. Just like the ones you find in fields and barns of the old muscle cars, the Terminators are now getting into that category. So the owner did get the car on a trailer, and they went and picked up the car, got it running, and found out that it had 79,000 miles on it. The engine was still there. Like we talked about, the bolts are a little rusted, and the interior owner's manual and things are a little dirty. But this is more of the car. The IRS is gone, the back bumper's gone, the quarter panel's gone, the drive shaft is in the trunk. The car is now parked like this, and he decided to go ahead and make a little money off it, just flipping it, which would be an easy way to make some money. If you get the car for the right price, you can turn around and flip it and make a little off it, and he decided to do that, and that's a good decision. This car is pretty far gone. Some people would say that it's an easy fix, and they'd be sad to see it parted out. Other people might say that that one's too far gone to fix, but if you look at the old cars, like on graveyard cars, you'll be surprised at what some people are willing to fix. This Terminator had 23,000 miles on it, sat in a parking lot its whole life. I don't know if you'd really call this a barn find, but it is a situation where the car has sat its whole life unprotected, and the owner went out and started it up. At least he took care of it, drove it around the parking lot, he said. But here's an example of a nice red fire Terminator that's turning the crap because it's not being taken care of in the best way. And that reminded me of another one. This is just a real terrible looking red fire Terminator that's been sitting out in the Texas sun for a long time, and people have gone by and taken pictures of it, but you can see the paint's absolutely peeling on it. And I have an entire story dedicated to this car by itself. This is a red fire Terminator that was wrecked when it was just a couple of years old, and it was left in a barn. And this is a true barn find. This car is probably the most barn find car out of all the Terminators. And this car was actually taken into a garage. Somebody bought it, decided to start working on it. They fixed it up real nice. They got new body panels for it, straightened it on an alignment rack, got it all repainted, and this is how nice it looks now. So there is hope for these cars. And here we have a Terminator that was actually being completely parted out, left for dead. It was just the shell. Somebody knew they could still sell the shell because it was still a Terminator, and this guy bought it, and he put a 4-valve centrifugal supercharged engine in the car that he got out of his GT that he had built, but unfortunately it was wrecked. But here is a nice Terminator getting pieced back together slowly. Of course, the body panels don't match, but that's really cool to see. That's a real Terminator.
And another guy shared this mineral gray Cobra that he said had been sitting for 4.5 years with a blown engine in it. And this car is a factory spoiler delete car, so that makes it actually pretty rare. And here's how the car looks now. And he said he even added an extra trunk lid with that Terminator spoiler on the back because he likes the look. I would have done that too. But these are really awesome Terminator Cobras that here's a handful of them that have been sitting, a lot of them for about 5 years, that needed something and they were parked like that. And I think this is something that people are starting to get into, and if they see them, they're definitely going to be worth saving. I wanted to give a good shout out to my buddy GTCS 1989, Josh. He's a buddy of mine, and he has a red 10th anniversary Terminator, and he's sent me a lot of these pictures, and he's always finding these cool stories and telling me about them, so I wanted to give a shout out to him and give him some credit for sending me some of these car pictures. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and remember to subscribe to the channel if you're not already on here with us.